Have you ever noticed that the more you want something, the more it seems to slip away? You chase the money, it disappears. You obsess over love, it fades. You force opportunities, and they fall apart. It's almost like the universe is playing hard to get. But what if I told you the real power doesn't come from doing more, but from doing less? Not from chasing, not from proving, not from pushing harder, but from pulling back, stepping into alignment, and letting the universe come to you. This is the shift most people never make, and that's why they stay stuck. Because here's the truth. Once you ignore it, the universe can't ignore you. Let that sink in. We've been taught that manifesting is about control. Visualize harder, affirm more, force the outcome into place. But what if that's the exact thing pushing it away? What if the moment you release your grip on the money, on the timeline, on the outcome, that's the moment everything starts flowing to you? Because that's what the masters of manifestation understand. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to certainty. And nothing says certainty like someone who doesn't need to chase. That's what this is about. The law of non-interference. It's the forgotten law, the one that flips the whole game. And once you get it, you'll never manifest the same way again. You'll stop fighting, stop proving, stop begging, and finally start allowing. So let's break this down. Most people are stuck in a loop. They say they want change, but they keep trying to force it. They micromanage, they obsess, they check their bank account 5 times a day. They re-watch their manifestation videos hoping today's the day. But here's the energetic truth they don't see. Every time you check, you're affirming it's not here yet. Every time you chase, you're reinforcing the belief that it's still running from you. That's not alignment. That's interference. So what's the alternative? It's not apathy. It's not laziness. It's alignment. It's knowing who you are so deeply, so confidently, that you don't need to force results. You expect them. You assume them. Neville Goddard said it best. You do not make things happen. You allow them to happen. That means your job isn't to chase the manifestation. Your job is to become the version of you who already has it. And then just live, just be, just walk like it's already yours. Because when you do that, when you let go of the obsession, the questions, the constant checking, you stop pushing it away. And the universe, it has no choice but to respond. That's what happens when you ignore it from a place of power. Not avoidance, but knowing. So if you're ready to experience what it's like to stop forcing and start receiving, keep watching. Because we're just getting started. And before we move forward, take a moment to ground this shift in something simple but powerful. Say this to yourself: it's already mine. This is so simple and direct but powerful. And if that landed, drop it in the comments. There's something about writing it out that makes it real. It tells your mind, your energy, and the universe, I'm serious, I've decided, and I'm done waiting. Let the comment be your quiet declaration, your personal moment where you say, I'm in. Let's go deeper, because now we're stepping into the place where most people get in their own way. They understand the idea of letting go, but they keep peeking. They say they trust the process, but they keep asking when it's going to happen. That's not trusting, that's doubting in disguise. Let me ask you something. If you truly believe the thing you wanted was already yours, would you be checking for it every 10 minutes? Would you be constantly scanning your phone, rereading your affirmations, or asking the universe for signs? Of course not. You'd be living, you'd be enjoying your life, you'd be in the energy of already having. But most people don't live there. They live in the gap, the space between desire and doubt. And the longer they stay in that gap, the more they push the thing away. It's not punishment, it's physics. Energy attracts like energy. The more you vibrate in, I don't have it yet, the more you create evidence to support that belief. And if this spoke to you, if something in you felt a shift, then do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button. Not for me, for you, so you don't forget this energy, so you stay in the frequency of who you're becoming. Because if this kind of alignment is what you're calling in, you're going to want to keep this energy close. So how do you get out of that gap? You shift into the state of having, not later. Now you stop needing it to show up to feel peace. You stop waiting to feel gratitude. You stop asking and start assuming. It sounds subtle, but it changes everything. Because when you do this, when you stop chasing, when you stop checking, when you stop explaining yourself to the universe, you move into that rare magnetic state that can't be ignored. You become the person who doesn't talk about what they're manifesting. They just live it. You stop explaining your vision. You stop needing validation. You stop leaking energy. And that's when results show up fast, effortlessly, unexpectedly. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. So right now, check in with yourself. Where are you still peaking? Where are you still seeking? Where are you still trying to control something that would happen faster if you simply let it go. Because ignoring it, truly letting it go with confidence, not fear, is the most powerful signal you can send. It tells the universe, I'm not desperate, I'm aligned, I'm not waiting, I'm already living. Let's keep going. Now here's where it gets real, because even when you think you've let go, there's often a hidden part of you still holding on, just beneath the surface. A subtle fear, a whisper of doubt, that voice that says, but what if it doesn't happen? That's the part that keeps pulling you back into the loop. So how do you handle it? You train yourself to stay in the energy of the outcome, even when nothing around you supports it yet. That's the muscle most people never build, because let's be honest, anyone can feel good when things are going well. Anyone can believe when the evidence is clear. But the ones who really master this, they don't wait for the evidence. They create it internally first. They don't ask, when is it going to happen? They live like it already has. And this isn't about pretending. It's not about faking it until you make it. It's about identifying so strongly with the version of you who already has it, that your reality has no choice but to catch up. So the next time you feel that urge to check, to stress, to push, pause, breathe. Remind yourself, nothing real can be forced. And then ask, how would I move if I already had it? Because the truth is, the universe isn't ignoring you. It's waiting for you to stop acting like someone who's still lacking. It's waiting for you to stop needing proof and start being the proof. That's how you become magnetic. That's how things show up without the hustle, without the stress, without the emotional roller coaster. Ignore the need to prove. Ignore the urge to explain. Ignore the fear that says it's not working. Because once you ignore all of that, the universe can't ignore you. And here's what happens next, because this is the part no one tells you. When you finally stop trying to control everything, when you stop micromanaging the timing and the how, things begin to shift quietly, subtly, then all at once. The money you stopped obsessing over, it shows up. The person you stopped chasing, they text. The opportunity you let go of, it circles back in a form you couldn't have predicted, not because you begged, but because you released. And this is where things get really interesting, because now you're not just manifesting, you're embodying. You're no longer trying to pull things into your life like a magnet. You're realizing you are the magnet. And as long as you hold your state, you don't have to chase. This is what the most grounded people in the world all have in common. They're not reactive. They're not rushing to fix things. They're not obsessed with outcomes. They've trained their nervous system to stay calm, to stay certain, even when reality hasn't caught up. They know something most people don't. Your reaction is your creation. If you can stay calm when it looks like nothing's happening, that's power. If you can hold your state when the money still isn't in the account, when the message hasn't come, when the success hasn't shown up yet, that's when you're actually in control. Because if you need reality to confirm your new state before you commit to it, you're not manifesting, you're negotiating. But when you move like it's done, even when it's not, that's when the shift happens. That's when people start saying, you changed. Something's different about you, and they're right. Because you're no longer tied to outcomes. You're no longer addicted to validation. You're no longer searching for signs. You are the sign. And that energy, that frequency, it's undeniable. The universe doesn't ignore someone who's already living in the end. So if you've been trying to figure out how to make things move faster, this is how. You stop needing it to happen. You stop searching for the shortcut, and you start walking like it's already yours. Because that version of you, the one who already has the life, the money, the peace, the love, that version isn't worried. That version isn't asking, where is it? That version is living. So here's your next move. Start acting like your reality isn't up for debate. Start holding your energy like someone who knows everything is already unfolding. Start embodying the version of you that the universe can't look away from. Let's keep going. And here's what that actually looks like in your day-to-day life. It means waking up in the morning and choosing to feel grounded before anything in your external world gives you a reason to. It means deciding ahead of time that your worth isn't measured by how many likes you get, how fast your business grows, or who texts you back. It means being so locked into your chosen reality that the noise of the world can't touch it. That's not delusion, that's alignment. Let's talk about what happens when you finally stop explaining yourself. You stop posting about your next move. You stop asking for feedback on your vision. You stop looking around for someone to confirm that you're doing it right, and you just move. That's when things get quiet. That's when things get real. Because when you're no longer narrating your journey, you're free to actually live it fully, with both feet in. There's a kind of magic that kicks in when your energy is no longer being scattered. in all directions. When it's focused, silent, certain, you become hard to read, hard to predict, hard to shake, and people feel that. You'll notice fewer people questioning you, fewer distractions pulling at you, more alignment, more clarity, more power. Because here's the truth. The world responds to energy, not explanations. And the version of you that has what you want, they're not out there proving anything. They're living it. They're not asking, is this working? They're walking like it already did. So the question is, can you stay in that energy? Can you keep your focus on who you're becoming instead of what's missing? Can you hold the frequency when the outside world hasn't caught up yet? Because that's where the real shift happens. Not when you change the world, but when you change the way you respond to it. Not when you chase results, but when you carry the state that creates them. That's when things start to move. Not because you forced them, but because you finally stopped interfering. And from that space, things manifest. Not on your timeline, not on demand, but right on time. In ways better than you imagined. Stay in the energy. Stay in your lane. Stay in the version of you that doesn't need to ask, doesn't need to prove, and doesn't need to push. Because that version of you, that's the one the universe can't ignore. Let's talk about how things start showing up when you least expect them. Because you're finally in the space to receive. Not because you figured out the perfect strategy. Not because you said the right affirmation at the right time. But because you stopped being the version of you who needed to ask if it's working. That's the shift. When you no longer obsess over what's missing, you create space for what's meant for you. You let it come. You let it breathe. You let it find you. And when it does, it feels almost effortless, like it was always there, just waiting for you to stop gripping so tightly. The clients show up, the text comes in, the email lands, the deposit hits, and it's not a surprise because you weren't waiting. You were preparing. You weren't hoping. You were becoming. This is what living from the end feels like. Calm, certain, done, not loud, not desperate, not performative, just aligned. And in that space, your energy becomes undeniable. You start getting more with less. You start creating faster by doing slower. You start realizing the version of you that gets it all was never that far away. It was just buried beneath all the noise, the checking, the explaining. And the moment you cut that out, you rise. Here's what I want you to take from this. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to micromanage every thought. You don't need to walk on spiritual eggshells to get what you want. You just need to hold your frame. Be the one who knows. Because when you know, you don't chase. You don't force. You don't doubt. You trust. You assume. You move like it's already yours. And if you slip, if doubt creeps in, if you catch yourself checking, questioning, comparing, that's okay. Just notice it. Return. Come back to the state. Come back to the version of you that doesn't need proof. Come back to the feeling of course it's happening. Because every time you return, you make the state stronger, more natural, more stable, until one day you realize you don't have to come back anymore. Because you never left, you became it. That's when life starts bending around you. Not because you demanded it, but because you decided it. And from that place, you don't just get what you want. You become someone who can't lose. Let's keep going. Because there's one more shift that makes all the difference, and it's this. You stop needing anyone to understand you. Not your friends, not your family, not social media, no one. You no longer require validation to trust your vision. You no longer look for agreement before you move. You stop asking people who don't get it to approve what they've never experienced. That's where your power multiplies, because you don't manifest through explanation. You manifest through embodiment. And embodiment doesn't ask for permission. It walks, it breathes, it leads. So if you feel like people around you don't get what you're doing, good. They're not supposed to. You weren't made to be understood. You were made to be aligned. And aligned people don't shrink to fit someone else's comfort. They expand quietly, relentlessly. You don't argue with reality, you shape it. You don't respond to what's missing, you respond to what's already yours. So when you feel tempted to explain yourself, stop. When you feel the urge to justify your progress, pause. Let your results be louder than your explanations. Let your energy say what your words never could. Because when you move from knowing, not hoping, not forcing, not waiting, but knowing, everything around you shifts. And when you stay in that state, there's nothing left to chase. You're already it. Let's end it here with the truth that started this entire journey. Once you stop chasing, you start receiving. Once you stop begging, you start becoming. And once you stop trying to prove your worth to the world, the universe has no choice but to reflect it back. You don't need to force it. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to ignore the noise and become the signal. Because once you ignore it, the universe can't ignore you. Let's talk about what happens after that shift settles in, after you've stopped chasing, stopped explaining, and finally started being the version of you that already has it. You begin to notice something strange. The urgency disappears. The pressure to fix everything right now, gone. You don't wake up checking your phone for signs anymore. You wake up already aligned, already in the feeling that life is moving for you, because it is. You stop needing signs because you are the sign. You stop searching for proof because your calm is the proof. And the best part? Everything begins to reflect back that calm, that certainty, that state of already having. People treat you differently. Opportunities feel lighter. Ideas come faster. And you don't need to force any of it. You simply respond from a place of wholeness. That's what most people miss. They think manifesting means controlling every thought and emotion, but it's really about returning to your natural state, a state of knowing. Not faking it, not forcing it, not flooding yourself with endless techniques, just choosing the version of you that no longer entertains the old story. You don't ask, what do I need to do to get it? You ask, how would I move if I already had it? You don't rehearse conversations. You walk in like they already said yes. You don't count every dollar. You spend like someone who trusts it's always coming back. You don't fear silence. You trust the space is making room for something better. This is the real work, the inner shift that changes everything without needing to change everything. Because once you've claimed it internally, the external world has no choice but to match. And sometimes the shift happens so quietly, you don't even notice it at first, until one day you catch yourself reacting differently. You don't get pulled into drama. You don't spiral when plans change. You don't shrink when someone doubts you. You just keep walking, unbothered, unshaken, undeniable. Because you know who you are now, and who you are has nothing to prove. So if you find yourself slipping back into the old story, don't panic. Just pause, take a breath, and ask, what would the future version of me do right now? Then do that. That one question, it collapses timelines, because it moves you from hoping to becoming. Let's keep going, because this is the part where everything starts to feel lighter. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your relationship with it changes. You stop treating every obstacle like a personal attack. You stop needing things to go a certain way in order to feel good. You wake up with clarity instead of chaos. Not because everything is figured out, but because you're not waiting for circumstances to give you peace. You already have it. You stop checking your reality to confirm your worth. You stop searching for evidence to feel safe. Instead, you decide, right now, this is who I am, and I don't need the outside world to catch up before I feel it. That's what being untouchable really means. It's not that nothing happens, it's that nothing shakes you anymore. And the more you live from that space, the more magnetic you become. People feel your certainty. Life meets you with ease. What used to trigger you now passes right through, because you're no longer reacting, you're responding. You're leading with energy, not emotion. And when that becomes your default, things start shifting without the push. You'll notice things falling into place, not because you chase them, but because you stopped chasing anything at all. You gave up control, and in return, you got power. So keep going. Keep choosing alignment over effort. Keep choosing presence over panic. Keep choosing the version of you that already knows. Because the moment you stop trying to fix your life is the moment it starts to unfold in your favor. And when it does, don't be surprised. You were never waiting for the universe. The universe was waiting for you. What most people don't realize is that manifestation isn't about getting, it's about remembering. Remembering who you were before the doubt, before the noise, before the world told you to prove yourself. When you shift back into that version, the one who already feels worthy, already feels chosen, already feels supported, you don't have to hustle to create your reality. You just become it. And from that state, life becomes less about effort and more about alignment. You stop reacting to circumstances. You stop chasing external markers of success. You stop waiting for things to show up before you let yourself feel good. Because feeling good is no longer a reward, it's the standard. This is where everything shifts, not on the outside, but on the inside. And that internal shift, that's what moves mountains. That's what collapses timelines. That's what turns ideas into results. Because the universe doesn't speak in words, it speaks in energy, in rhythm, in certainty. So the question is, what are you broadcasting right now? Are you asking for confirmation, or are you standing in it? Because the moment you stop needing to be convinced is the moment the universe gets convinced on your behalf. So next time you feel yourself spiraling, pause. No need to shame yourself. No need to reset everything. Just breathe and remind yourself, you've already decided how this ends. You've already seen it in your imagination. You've already walked in it internally. And now, reality is just catching up. So let it. This is your invitation to relax deeper into the version of you that's done waiting, to stop asking, when is it coming, and start living like it already has. Because the truth is, it has. And now that you've tasted what that kind of peace feels like, you won't settle for less. You'll notice how easy it is to spot the moments when you're out of state, not because you're doing something wrong, but because it simply doesn't feel like you anymore. You'll hear the doubt, but you won't follow it. You'll feel the pull to explain yourself, but you'll choose silence instead. You'll feel the urge to force, and you'll breathe instead. That's where you win, not in massive breakthroughs, but in small decisions that no one sees. When you choose to walk instead of wait. When you act from fullness, not fear. When you stop checking for signs and become one. The power is in the return. And the more you return, the easier it gets. Until it's not a return, it's who you are, it's how you live, and the people around you will notice. The energy will shift. Things will start aligning without you needing to announce it. That's the beauty of alignment. You don't need to prove it. You don't need to explain it. You just embody it, and everything else catches up. So now you're left with a choice. Do you keep chasing? Or do you decide it's already yours and walk like it? Do you keep doubting? Or do you hold your frame, even when nothing has shown up yet? Because that's the test, not the hardship, not the delay, but your ability to keep showing up as the version of you who knows. No begging, no explaining, no shrinking, just steady, certain, unavailable for anything less than alignment. So take this moment, close your eyes if you need to, and say it with your whole being. I'm already living it. It's already mine. I don't need to force. I don't need to chase. I just need to remember. Because once you remember who you are, the universe can't help but mirror it back. You're not here to try. You're here to choose. So choose again and again until it's not a choice. It's just who you've become. So choose again and again until it's not a choice. It's just who you've become. And if this resonated with you, let that be your signal. Not to start over, but to start deeper, to stop looking outside of yourself for confirmation, and instead to ground yourself in the quiet knowing that your inner state is already creating your outer world. Take what you heard today and live it. Breathe it. Let it shape how you show up when no one's watching. Let it guide your decisions, your silence, your focus. Let it pull you back into alignment every time you drift. Not because you have to, but because you've outgrown the version of you who waited for proof. You're no longer waiting for a sign. You're no longer chasing clarity. You're no longer asking, is it working? You're walking like it's already done. And it is. So if you feel called, type it in the comments below. It's already done. Let that be your quiet declaration, your energetic anchor, not for attention, but for confirmation. From you to you. Because you don't need more answers. You just need to remember. And when you remember, the universe remembers too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.